What's up, guys? Today we are grading Joe Burrow, the AFC Championship debacle that it was. We had a ref show, we had some injuries, we had some crazy plays, but most of all, we had some subpar Joe Burrow performance. I always say that the playoffs are pumpkin season, and this is when quarterbacks who live on the magic of scheme fade and turn back into pumpkins, and I think Joe Burrow did just that in this game. And frankly, I don't think he's played well in his playoff career to this point. Lots of wins, not a lot of actual great QB performance, and not even that much production. In this game, Sam Hubbard didn't steal a quarterback sneak and run for a touchdown. In this game, there wasn't a blizzard and a Josh Allen implosion to save him. Mahomes didn't turn in the worst second half I've ever seen a quarterback turn in like he did last year in the AFC Championship game, and the result was a close Chiefs win that probably shouldn't have been so close, even though the refs did screw the Bengals on several plays. I hear ya. Without any further ado, I'm going to explain real quickly how I grade these throws, and then we'll get to the film. Let's fly through. An elite throw is special. It's typically a perfect deep ball, leads the receiver like 50 yards downfield, 30 yards downfield minimum. Obviously, context applies to all of these, right? A great throw is a really nice second-level throw, or it could be a catchable but imperfect, really deep throw. A solid throw, you see a lot of these, like 8, 12-yard curls, or jump balls, or coverage busts. We're going to see a lot of that today. A routine throw is a check down, a screen. Really simple, you expect it completed every time. A bad throw is just anything inaccurate, and that includes batted balls. Interceptable or pickable balls are ones that a cornerback or defensive back should pick. That does not include drops and tips. Quarterbacking isn't all about passing, though. There's a lot of other stuff like sacks. Who do we blame? The quarterback? Was he taking too long, or was the line bad? Throwaways. That's not an aimed pass. That shouldn't count. Runs. We have positive runs, neutral runs, and negative runs. And we basically try to marry run value to pass value. So a 10-yard run, that's about a solid pass. And we graded it as such, all the way down the line. Pocket movements, anytime a quarterback navigates the pocket, avoids a rusher, does something cool in the, runs around, throws under pressure, throws while getting hit, pocket movement. Now, you don't always get a pocket movement just because you move, right? Sometimes you run around in a circle like Russ Wilson just for fun, and it doesn't actually help anything. But we're pretty liberal with plus pocket movements. And then fumbles are just if he fumbled. So, with that out of the way, let's get to the film.
This game's going to start with a quick screen to Jamar Chase. We've seen this exact same play thrown exactly the same way, go for 80-yard touchdowns in the playoffs before, so it's a good place to get started, get the quarterback in rhythm. But nothing to it, routine throw, you expect that. Here, this throw's a little tougher to grade because it is almost uncovered. You'll see here, it's Jamar Chase, and it's against a cover 3 zone. Maybe cover 4. Not quite sure how that exactly worked out. But it's wide open. It is 10 yards downfield. We'll give him a solid throw, just to be gracious. Right? We're fighting bias because we are lower on Joe Burrow than the market is. Most people think Joe Burrow is a really good quarterback. I think he's not so good. Here, this is why I think he's not so good. Puts the ball in harm's way, floats the ball directly into a defensive back who just drops it. That's a pickable ball. 9 times out of 10, this thing is going the other way, and Cincinnati's going to come out with a huge monkey on their back, right? This should be caught, hits him in both hands, and Kansas City gets the ball at the plus 40-yard line. That would be a rough way to start. Instead, Joe Burrow lives to fight another day. No punishment for his sins. Here you'll see the right tackle false start. Even still, he gets beaten. That's Hakeem Adeniji. And so Burrow runs for a probably positive run, probably, possibly neutral with a plus movement. Regardless, I'm not going to split the hair because this play doesn't count. If it was a pass, I would still grade it. We're trying to grade as many passes as possible because passes are predictive and pressure affects passes less than it does runs. However, it's a run. It's really not that useful for grading a quarterback in the first place, especially one like Burrow that's not a runner. We move on. Here on third down, without the all-22, I can't tell if this sack is on Burrow or his makeshift backup offensive line. First play was a run, didn't go very far. Second play here is going to be another sack, and it's pretty damn quick. Now, we can't be sure who to blame without the all-22, but before we even see, I'm going to lean towards it's not Joe Burrow's fault, because that pressure was, like I said, pretty quick. Here, this isn't quite as good as the all-22, but the all-22 is not out yet, so we need something. And as you can see, there's really nothing available before this. This is exactly when Joe Burrow would have to start throwing the ball. This drag route, I can't tell if it's a running back or a tight end because it's too blurry, is probably open, and you could throw it. Now, you'll see on the left side of your screen, Jamar Chase is getting open down the left sideline, but again, right here, you'd have to be bombing it, and Joe Burrow simply does not have the arm strength to make that play. Right? And not a lot of guys do. That's a really tough throw. I'm thinking the best he could do is throw to this slot receiver right here. And he probably should have. Right here, slip it out here. It's tough. We'll be gracious. There are 6 sacks. I'm sure there is plenty of other opportunity for us to be harsh on Joe Burrow's pocket IQ, and I've been harsh on it before. But this one in particular, we'll call that a no-fault sack. Now 3rd and 13, and they're having trouble lining up. That's not great. Now it's going to be 3rd and 18. The left tackle false start. Watch this. This is crazy. I know there's a lot of shit about the Chiefs getting, beneficial refereeing, shall we say, and they did. But watch the left tackle here. I mean, he's fully out of his stance and backing up before this ball is snapped. One more time here. As you can see, he's up. The ball is not moving. That's ball has not moved. Him up. Clear false start. We're not picking nits. That is a no-fault sack. I do not need to see the L-22. Chris Jones wrecked that play. So, yeah, here's the L-22. For your own edification, I guess, I'll show you. Right here is when the ball is going to have to come out to not be sacked, and nobody's quite 18 yards downfield, nor are they approaching it. I mean, you could throw the ball on this slant, but good luck, man. That's not a blameworthy sack. On a drive 3, Bengals have gotten nothing going. Drive 3 is going to start out with another screen to Jamar Chase, and like we said earlier, not a bad option. They get 8 yards out of it, but it's still just a routine throw, right? Nothing to it. Little play action and another screen. Again, routine play, nothing to it. They're trying to take Joe Burrow out of this game. The Bengals are, game plan-wise. They're not throwing downfield. They're not trying to allow him to have time in the pocket, right? Now, on one hand, you could say, well, they got a backup offensive line. The reason that they're calling all these quick game things is because they don't want to risk more sacks, like we saw in the last drive. Another reason they might be doing it is because Joe Burrow's not getting the ball out very quickly. Here, his first read is Hayden Hurst, and he was wide open, right? Yes, it's a 5-yard gain, but it's first down, get your 5 yards, get into plus territory, and move on. Burrow looks at him. You'll see 1, 2, boom. This is where you got to be looking to throw. And that's exactly where he's looking. He's looking at Hayden Hurst. He's open. He's very open. Hit him. Gun it in there. He's late. He gives up. He tries to do something else, and then he panics. This sack is on Joe Burrow. I don't even need to know what's going on downfield. I know what his first read was, and I know he failed it. Oh, gosh, look at them giving us this all-22 all the time. This is lovely. As you can see, Joe Burrow's head is turned left. Right here, he's looking at Hayden Hurst. He's winding up because he's going to throw to Hayden Hurst. I think what happens is that he sees T. Higgins splitting these defenders, and he thinks, ooh, if I just wait a second. And T. Higgins does get open. Right? T. Higgins is open, but it's a bench concept, right? So here is going to be an out. Hayden Hurst is going to run an out, and then T. Higgins is running a corner over the top of it. And basically, they're trying to stress his own defense and make this defender pick which guy am I going to cover. And if he covers Hurst, the throw to Higgins is open. And if he covers Higgins, the throw to Hurst is open. Unfortunately, it wasn't the zone that Joe Burrow thought it was going to be. Right? Burrow thought it was going to look something like this. Burrow thought that this defender was going to have to pick between Higgins and Hurst, but what he didn't realize is that the safety over here is going to crash down into the flat and take Hurst. So they're both open, but neither of them are open in the way that Burrow expected. That's what makes him panic and confuses him. That's why he takes a sack. Here on 2nd and 14, Burrow throws a screen, and that's a routine pass. There's a miscommunication, obviously, and Piran was not looking for it. It probably came out a little quicker than Burrow wanted it to, but that has to be caught, and that's certainly not Burrow's fault. So we grade it like it got completed and any other screen. Now here, there's a nice throw by Burrow. Again, we've been over it. He does not have good arm strength. He's got below average arm strength, but he gets the ball out early with anticipation and lofts it out there for a 16-yard gain. That is a good throw. Great job understanding leverage. You'll see here, Boyd runs an excellent route, breaks that corner off, and gets in under the safety, right? That's really nice play. Burrow has to lob the ball because he doesn't have the arm to gun it, but he lofts it early enough that it does not matter, and that's really smart. Now this play is tough because this is a screen that gets aborted, right? And this should be a throwaway, but, because you got the blitzing safety. But the blitzing safety is, like, really far away. This is a solid 5 yards away. You've got tons of time, and Piron comes open. This is a bad play, and honestly, I didn't recognize this while I was watching the game live. This is why we rewatch. This is a bad play. If Joe Burrow throws this screen at Piron, he's absolutely got a chance to break off some yards. He's wide open. He's got 2 blockers. He's got a convoy. This could be a first down, but Burrow gives up because he's scared of the blitz. I'm downgrading that from a throwaway to a bad throw. It's just bad decision making. Here, that's a great throw. Again, Joe Burrow does not have the strongest arm, so he can't gun it in there the exact same way that Josh Allen can, but he can still be very effective. You see you've got a receiver in a large void, and sure, Burrow stops him, right? He could have let him across, and I wish we had the All-22. I'd show you a slightly better angle. But we don't yet, and I want to get this video out fast because I know that everybody wants to talk about this game. As you'll see here, 83, Boyd, has to completely stop and run backwards, or, step backwards to get this ball. It's not thrown with perfect placement, but it's thrown well enough, right? Joe Burrow read the defense properly and took advantage of a coverage mismatch. We'll call it a great ball. Is it the most replicatable ball? I don't know. The traits are clearly not good, but a large portion, one could argue most of, playing quarterback is mental, and Joe Burrow absolutely aced the test there. So, great throw. There's a routine pass. This third down play is a little tougher to grade. Now, the ball's at about the 13-yard line, so this is about a 15, 16-yard throw. And as you can see, it almost gets caught. I hope they give us the reverse angle. Show us him running towards us, please. There we go. This is exactly what I mean. You could catch that. You could certainly catch that. So the argument is not, is it accurate or is it inaccurate? The argument is it good or great? Now, it's 15 yards, and it's well thrown. You got to catch that. Now, great job by the cornerback to get an arm in there. I'm going to call it good, understanding that some people might want to call it great. I think in order for it to be great, it'd have to be a little bit higher so you keep the ball away from the cornerback. But I understand if you want to call that great. For purposes of being generous to Joe Burrow, because we're on an island with him, let's call it great. But know that personally, if I'm just doing this to be the truest, to be true to my evaluation, I think it's probably a solid throw. All right, we got some 4-minute drill action. So the Bengals are going to try to work their way all the way down the field and score a touchdown against soft defenses while also taking time off the clock. Mixon does a great job of staying in bounds there, but it's just a routine throw. Yuck. I don't think I have to tell you that's a pickable, and it's just really, really bad. And this is part of why, on a more macro level, Joe Burrow has a tendency to underthrow and float balls. And it's not just because he has a weak arm. It's also because he trusts his massive Twin Tower receivers. Kevin Clark during the game yesterday was tweeting about how sometimes Joe Burrow will underthrow these deeper passes to Higgins and Chase because, especially against double coverage, he thinks that it gives them an advantage, right? He thinks that they have a better chance of winning a jump ball on an underthrown ball than winning by separating deep or winning a jump ball that's further downfield. This ball is so massively underthrown and so incredibly slow floating that T. Higgins has less of an opportunity to get to the ball than the zone corner, who is breaking down and jumping before T. Higgins can adjust. And this is part of why I typically do not grade jump balls the same way I would grade a perfectly placed ball, right? Because if Joe Burrow just throws that ball in stride to T. Higgins, he has a much better chance of catching it, and there is almost no chance of an interception. Jump balls are primarily the wide receiver's doing. The wide receiver deserves the credit mostly, not the quarterback. And in that case, it's just one such example. The Chiefs squander that great opportunity, and the Bengals are going to get one more shot of the 2-minute drill. Here's a routine pass, and you're going to get a lot of that. It's softer coverage. The Chiefs are going to say, take your yards, but take them slowly. Here, Burrow does a great job of escaping the pocket, and while escaping, makes a great throw. Now, I know that it gets picked, and I know there's a penalty, but we're going to grade this anyway, because it's 2+ movements and a great throw. Frankly, this is some of the most arm talent Joe Burrow has ever displayed on a pass. Let's see exactly how far it was. Line of scrimmage is the 13. Release point's about the 9-yard line. And ball gets to about the 33. It's about 20, 25 yards downfield. It's accurate. Burrow is rolling left. He's airborne when he throws it. Does a great job of changing the arm angle. Safety got there early, and that's why the pass was broken up. The pass was broken up, and that's what leads to the fluky interception. That is a great play by Joe Burrow, and he deserves credit. The next play was a routine screen. Obviously, we don't reward those. And this play, again, knowing that it is a softer coverage, and the Chiefs are mostly just trying to not let Jamar Chase get a big play or get out of bounds, it's solid, but low end of solid. It's a routine play. Again, underneath leverage. As long as Higgins does not go out of bounds moving forward, they do not mind. Routine play. So before you know it, the Bengals have marched most of the way down the field, and they haven't really done anything impressive yet, because that's how you beat prevent defense. You just be patient. And Burrow is nothing if not patient. Here, a little RPO-type slant. Wide open, inside leverage with your 6'5" receiver on a 5'10" cornerback. Perfectly pedestrian throw. Nothing special about it. Here, this throw is another one that's tough to grade. And I'm going to break this out into a compilation of underthrown jump balls that Joe Burrow throws to his receivers. Now, first of all, the reason this works is a clear offensive pass interference. Look at typically the rule of thumb for an OPI is, did the receiver straighten out his elbow? Did he straighten his arm and stiff arm the guy? He stiff armed him, clearly. And then he turns around and makes the catch. It's a big gain. It's a 20-yard gain. Puts him in the deep red zone. How impressive is it? Well, I would argue that most every quarterback can make this throw. Now, he gets some credit because he threw it, right? Sure, Colt McCoy can make this throw. Does he try it? I don't know. You need to give Joe Burrow some credit for being ballsy. And that's why we grade this throw solid. It was accurate, and it was easy, but it was ballsy, and it's the right meta, right? It's the right strategy and philosophy of the game. It's the correct amount of aggressiveness. By the way, that ball, that's bad. And that's why I grade jump balls as solid or good, occasionally great if they're very far downfield, and even elite if they're like 60 or 70 yards downfield, because who can throw the ball that far? Bad throw. But typically jump balls, they're good. They're not great. That's going to end the first half for Joe Burrow. So let's get to some charts and just keep ourselves abreast of how he's looked so far.
So real quick for the halftime update, we changed a couple things. Originally, I had one throw graded as good. I moved it up to great. And there was one throwaway, which I showed you, that really was just a bad decision by Burrow. I downgraded that from a throwaway to a bad ball. And that gives Joe Burrow a -2 slugging. I gave him a C- on this first half. He had 24% positive plays. That's perfectly average. He had 28% negative plays. That's perfectly average. And he was 76% accurate. That is actually above league average accuracy. The problem I have is that he threw 2 balls that should have been picked. And when you throw 2 balls that should have been picked, you typically have a really hard time coming back, right? I mean, like, both of those balls should have been picked and should have set the Chiefs up for kill shots. And the first one got dropped. The second one, the Chiefs squandered. So Burrow's lucky to still be hanging around in this game. Let's see how he does in the second half.
The Bengals are going to start the second half with a nice little throw here. Perfect timing. It's a lofted ball. It looks fairly easy, but it is 9 yards downfield. It's also a terrible spot. It should have been 10 yards downfield. We'll give it a solid grade. Now, here on this, first down, Burrow is going to run, and it's a positive gain, but barely. And I want you to look at what he's missing. Now, I know that he was sacked a little bit in the first half, but Joe Burrow is lauded for his processing, right? His ability to process defenses and think is what people think sets him apart. I want you to watch Hayden Hurst, who is his first target on this play. This is where he's supposed to be looking. So, I think that's Trenton Irwin, the other white guy. He's going to get open here, but that's not where Joe Burrow is supposed to look. So don't look there. Look here. Look at Hayden Hurst. His number one read is wide open. This is wide open. It's an easy throw. It's like 6 yards downfield, and if you put the ball about where my mouse is, Hayden Hurst is going to get you 15, 20 yards. Instead, Burrow pulls it down, panics for whatever reason, a little bit of pressure. We'll give him a plus movement because the pocket did get muddy, but that's a negative run and bad decision making. Now, we only grade the negative run. The bad decision making is just for our own edification. We put that in the back of our mind, and we use that when we are going through and describing to ourselves what we think Joe Burrow's traits are. Now, here on this third down play, I can't tell if Joe Burrow audibled to this because he saw something or if this was just called. But look at how open the middle of the field is, right? The Bengals went 5 wide and spread the defense out, and Joe Burrow goes right up the gut on 3rd and 6 for a gain of like 10 yards. It's a very positive run. That's good shit. I don't know if it's play calling. I don't know if it's Joe Burrow improvising. Either way, very positive. Here, Joe Burrow gets hit while he's throwing. It's a bad throw. He should have been out earlier so that he doesn't get hit, but also he's being hit. So it's a bad throw with a plus movement because, what are you going to do? Chris Jones has been a monster all day. And then this ball is, again, remember earlier when T. Higgins offensive pass interfered with a couple guys and got a ball? It's the same thing here. Now, this is a much better throw. This is like a well-placed jump ball, but it's a jump ball. Now we give him credit, right? This is a good throw. It's about 25 yards total. It's about 20 yards downfield, and then Higgins walks it 5 more yards into the end zone. But it is a good throw. Now tell me how many receivers in the NFL make that catch. That is a special receiver right there, right? T. Higgins is probably the best jump ball receiver in the NFL right now. He's 6'5", he's got a great vertical, he's got great hands. He is the new Alshon Jeffrey, and he hasn't gotten fat or had attitude issues yet. It's a good ball. It's not quite a great ball. Yeah, you know what? We'll call it a great ball. Just for the hell of it. We'll call that a great throw. But it's still a jump ball. And it seems that the only way that Joe Burrow has success is when he utilizes the fact that he's got twin towers who are incredible jump ball receivers, and they go up and get one. We'll actually call that one to T. Higgins a great throw. This is routine. It was 20 yards downfield. It was caught. It was well placed in between the defensive backs. The question you have to ask yourself is how many receivers not named T. Higgins can make that catch? And the answer is very few. If your quarterback relies on having excellent, unique wide receivers to produce, your quarterback's not very good. Now here, Joe Burrow has plenty of time, and look at T. Higgins open with underneath leverage again. He panics, he moves around and throws the ball away. It's a throwaway, give it to him, but it's not a great throwaway. It's a neutral throwaway. And then this is a routine throw. I know it gets some yardage, but look how wide open Jamar Chase is, right? Like, nobody is near him. And sure, it's a 20-yard gain, but that's Jamar Chase's doing, and honestly, it's more the Kansas City defense is doing than it is Joe Burrow's doing. It comes back. We're going to grade it anyway, because it's routine. But there was clearly a hold. We don't need to get into it. we're trying to grade as many passes as we can, right? And the hold helped him, if anything, and he still only threw a routine pass. Now, this play on 3rd and 17, good job by Burrow to escape the pocket, right? All of his routes are to the left. That's not really viable. Samaje Perine's not going 16 yards after a flat. Sorry. So good job getting to the left and knowing where your receivers are going to be. He's got Hayden Hurst here as the safety valve, but he sees something downfield. This is good anticipation. It's good pocket IQ. So he's going to get 2+ movements on this play regardless. Here's the problem. Throws that ball right off the defensive back's hand. Now, this was never going to be picked. And it took a decent play by this cornerback, I think that's Trent McDuffie, to slap the ball. But the ball got slapped, and the ball became totally uncatchable because it got slapped. It's a bad throw, but really good processing and really good pocket mobility. 2+ movements, bad throw. Slightly negative play. So this happens when it looks like the Chiefs are going to march their way right down to the end zone. And now Burrow's got a golden opportunity to come back in a game that should be over. Right? The Chiefs have squandered 3 opportunities to put this game away now. A little routine throw by Burrow, nothing to it. Here's another throwaway. Now, after the first one, I really have to examine his throwaways because, okay, this play gets blown dead. That's nothing. Did that play not get blown dead? Everybody gave up right away. That seems a little premature, but I get it. That's a normal throwaway. Routine throw. And here's 4th and 6. Now, again, the Chiefs have an opportunity to put this game away at the very first play of the 4th quarter. Look at Ja'Marr Chase. Let's watch it again. Clean pocket. Yeah, there's a little bit of pressure, but nothing real. Throwing from exactly the 50-yard line of scrimmage being the 41. Ball gets to the 10. So this is 40 yards in the air, stepping into it on a deep ball. Now, Ja'Marr Chase is 3 feet above the head. I mean, he's playing above the rim. It looks like Shaquille O'Neal on high schoolers, which is crazy because Ja'Marr Chase is like 6'1". Like, he is much shorter than you would think, but he's just so vertical. Ja'Marr Chase goes up and steals that ball. Now, show me the all-22 reverse angle so I can show you guys, yep, look at how open Ja'Marr Chase is. If you throw this ball upfield and lead him, it's an easy touchdown. But watch right here, Ja'Marr Chase has to stop and come back. I'm sorry. Most wide receivers do not... Oh, yeah, give me that sexy all-22. Most receivers do not turn this into a catch. Most receivers, they are running upfield as fast as they can to try to create separation, and most receivers turn this into an incompletion at the least. Now, it goes 40 yards downfield. Ja'Marr Chase and Joe Burrow know each other real well. Here's a routine throw. I'm going to give Joe Burrow the benefit of the doubt and call it a solid throw. But really, you and I both know that that's a bad throw, and if you don't have elite wide receivers, that shit does not work. So while Joe Burrow is productive and Joe Burrow is effective, a lot of the things that almost every one of his positive plays in this game has been him leveraging a cheat code that he has access to because of his wide receivers rather than because of him. And if you need receivers that are super fucking special in one particular area of the game in order to leverage that one particular area of the game into big plays, you are not that good. You are okay. You know how to use your great tools. So it's a tie game in the 4th quarter. Joe Burrow's got the ball with average starting field position. Let's see what he can do. Good job to roll out. Escapes pressure well, right? I mean, there's a clear hold, but he does a good job of rolling to the correct side and getting the dump off. It's a routine throw. That being said, they found the hold. We're not going to grade it. It doesn't really add anything to us. That play does not tell us anything. Here, this is tough because it's actually kind of a bad throw. Clean pocket. Bad throw. Trent Irwin goes down to the ground and grabs it. We'll call it routine, but again, that's the bottom end of routine, right? That is routine's toe. Here does a good job of stepping up in the pocket. And that's actually a really positive run. Joe Burrow is not athletic. He is not a good runner in the, typical sense. He's not fast. If you lined all the quarterbacks up, he would not be a good runner. If you made him run an obstacle course, he would not be a good runner. But you can see right there, he's crafty and he's ballsy, and he'll go for it and put his body on the line. So good for him. Positive run with a plus move. It's a really good play. Clean pocket, going deep. Now this play is layered, and they're not going to give us a replay because it wasn't a catch. First of all, this is defensive pass interference. Right about here, you can see Ja'Marr Chase gets pushed. Now, Ja'Marr Chase leans into it a little bit, so I understand the no call. I'm not saying that the Bengals got jobbed, but right here, it's a little hole. It's a little bit of a hold, but the ball's in the air. A hold with the ball in the air is called. That's right, defensive pass interference. That said, Ja'Marr Chase is leaning into the contact, creating it a little bit. Now, without that, Ja'Marr Chase will be running upfield. And when Joe Burrow throws the ball, he's not expecting Ja'Marr Chase to be pass interfered with or leaning into it to try to sell a call. And that ball still hits Ja'Marr Chase on the back shoulder side of the head, despite the fact that Ja'Marr Chase is getting interfered with. Right? So, without this bullshit, the target should be about where my mouse is. Right? Instead, it's behind. It is to a covered receiver, and it does not lead the receiver upfield. Now, if any of you have ever played football or if you've played goalie in hockey, everybody knows when you're wearing a helmet, the hardest thing to catch is the thing right next to your head by your neck. This ball is simply not catchable. I think this is a bad throw. I could also see how somebody might say it's a great throw. I'd like to see the all-22 tight copy, and I'll probably splice that in right here. But personally, I don't think any receiver catches that, and I think that if Ja'Marr Chase was not interfered with, you see him put his hands up in the cockroach position, I think that if he wasn't interfered with, that wouldn't even be close. The only reason it was close is because it was interfered with. Now here, this is Joe Burrow's second interception, and I call this justice. This is poetic justice. The ball does not lie all the time. It lies a lot, but not all the time. Here, clean pocket. T. Higgins is open. Again, put that on his outside shoulder. The placement is terrible. Joe Burrow's deep ball placement is generally terrible, which is why I don't give him the benefit of the doubt on his jump balls, assuming that he's doing it on purpose. I think that he's just getting away with bad throws. Here, he throws it inside. It should have been outside. It should have been high. Instead, he puts it low. It gets picked. It does not deserve to be picked. It is a bad throw. Bad throws happen all the time. It's okay. It shouldn't have been a pick. Right? Like you see here, this safety, James Cook, is all over the inside and under leverage. What does that mean? If you're just looking at it, and you can put the ball anywhere you want to put the ball upfield because T. Higgins is a little further upfield, and he looks like he can go faster, right? James Cook is extended. T. Higgins is slowing down. Additionally, you've got all this room to the sideline, so you want the ball up and out, like where my mouse is. Relative to where they are. Obviously, if they put the ball right here, it's not going to be caught. Instead, the ball's inside and short. That's just a lack of arm talent or a lack of accuracy. Again, look, all this outside room. There's nobody outside on the boundary, and they're about 5-10 yards from the sideline. Bad throw. Ironically, this is the exact same play and almost the exact same throw that Joe Burrow made on the Ja'Marr Chase jump ball earlier, where he mossed two dudes in double coverage on an underthrow. It's a bad ball. We move on. Now, I love Andy Reid. I stan Andy Reid. This would have been a 53-yard field goal to put yourself ahead with 2 minutes left and 2.5 minutes left in the game. Punting here is insane. Andy Reid fucked up. I don't care that it worked out. The analytics say you go for it or you kick it. My brain says you go for it or you kick it. Let's see what Joe Burrow does with this golden opportunity. Throws a routine ball to T. Higgins. Good job by T. Higgins. T. Higgins is balling out this season, really exceeding my expectations. He's been great. Here, Joe Burrow thinks that he's more than he is again. Right. So this is I can't see the back end, so I don't know what the receivers are doing, but it looks like, based on the tight end and running back, this is Hank. This is the play that the Chargers run every third down. curls at the sticks back here where you can't see off the screen, and then the running back and the tight end are both running flats. Your Joe Burrow, you've got a clean pocket for now, but you can tell that this guy is going to break in on you. So dump the ball off to your running back or dump the ball off to your tight end and let them get hit. Let them run. Instead, Joe Burrow he plays some hero ball, he runs. It's a negative run. You don't have the time to burn. I don't like it. Negative run. Now this play's going to look like a throwaway at first, but this is intentional grounding, and I called it when I saw it on the field. Right here, you've got Chris Jones bearing down on you, right? Joe Burrow is going to be sacked. And what does he do? He throws the ball right into his lineman's feet, the exact same way that you would do on a busted screen. Let's see that again. Now, if he was throwing to Pirine, you're going to throw it past the line of scrimmage, right? Even if you're outside the pocket, ball has to get to the line of scrimmage. So if you're throwing the ball away, throw it to the line of scrimmage. He throws it at the feet of his lineman. This is not a screen. That is not viable. That is an intentional grounding, and it goes down as a quarterback sack. That is on Burrow. It is a sack. It works exactly like a sack. That's intentional grounding. 3rd and 16, and it's Burrow's fault. Here, he steps up nicely in the pocket, and wow. So, again, nice job sliding to buy yourself an extra half second. And just uncovered. Solid throw, but basically the Chiefs decided to double Higgins and Chase and left Hayden Hurst wide open. You'll see here, this is Higgins. This is the coverage bust right here. They put the safety over the top. This is Trent McDuffie. Good player, but a rookie. Right here, if they could go back, McDuffie knows he has to take and match. So they're running a zone match, right? It's going to be like a cover 4 or a cover 6. Can't tell from here. McDuffie's supposed to take on Hayden Hurst and just man him up. And 33 here is supposed to take on Trenton Irwin and just man him up. Right? I mean, this player is playing the running back. It's effectively man, but you're giving a lot of cushion. And then the safety over the top is going to take on T. Higgins, and the safety over the top is going to take on Jamar Chase. Here, McDuffie gets caught staring at Burrow, has a brain fart because he doesn't know. Joe Burrow is looking at Trenton Irwin, trying to look McDuffie off, and instead of matching and playing the man he's supposed to cover, McDuffie tries to get greedy, jump a ball, and Joe Burrow manipulates him with his eyes. That's a good throw by Joe Burrow and a plus pocket movement. Really good job mentally to make up for the fact that he doesn't really have it physically on that play. There's a routine throw to Hurst, and the Bengals are cooking. They need like 2 first downs to win this game. What the fuck is that? He's not really being pressured. He hit the top of his drop and he let go of the ball. And it was clean. He was not contacted. He just missed. That's a bad throw. This does not seem to be his fault. Again, without the All-22, I can't be certain. But I can be pretty certain. It's 3rd and 8. That's a long down and distance. And Chris Jones gets there right away, waves goodbye to the fans. He knows he's not coming back on the field. Hakeem Adeniji got his lunch eaten by a defensive tackle. Yikes. Just get off me. Honestly, I don't know what Adeniji's doing. He never set his feet. He never anchored into his heels. If any of you have ever done a squat, you know that you push up with your heels because your toes are not connected to your leg, right? You want to keep all of the weight centered over your leg, like a nail. Adeniji never anchored on his heels. He was on his toes the whole time, and Chris Jones just walked right past him. That's just bad. Now, as you guys know, this is the last play, or the last drive of the game. Mahomes will walk for about 15 yards, and Osai will give him 15 more. Osai played an awesome game. Don't blame him. But that's all we get from Joe Burrow today. Let's get to the chart.
So, we've watched every snap of this game, and we've broken them down in pretty good depth. We've even watched the All-22 as often as needed. We're going to give Joe Burrow credit for 3 great throws. We're going to give him credit for the T. Higgins bomb. We're going to give him credit for the one where he was rolling left and there was a defensive pass interference on the throw to Hayden Hurst. We're going to give him one more that escapes me right now. Going to give him 7 solid throws, most of them at the sticks, a couple of jump balls, 17 pedestrian throws, 9 bad throws, almost all of which came in the second half and on the last drive of the first half, right? Before the last 2 drives of the first half, Joe Burrow had 1 negative throw, or, 1 bad throw. He also had the 2 pickables, but that's a different story. In the second half, much less accurate. His accuracy dropped from 76 in the first half to 65 in the second half, for a grand total of 71% accuracy, which is below the league average. The league average is about 72 year over year. I've graded quarterbacks now for 3 years, tens of thousands of snaps. 72 is a pretty damn strong average. Joe Burrow also threw the 2 pickables. He had 2 interceptions, one of which wasn't his fault, but he got away with a back-breaking interception on the first drive that Trent McDuffie just volleyballed up in the air. He had 6 sacks, and we thought that 3 of them were on him and 3 of them were on his offensive line. 50-50 seems pretty fair, and again, we watched the plays. We broke down exactly where the ball should have come out and why it didn't. Burrow had 2 positive runs, both in the second half, using his legs. He also had 2 runs that were pretty misguided, so that basically offsets. And despite the fact that his offensive line wasn't great, Joe Burrow didn't actually move around in the pocket that much, with only 10 positive movements. All in all, it meets out for a D+ grade in my opinion. He was okay. He had a couple of nice plays. He had some really bad plays. He didn't do anything transcendent. He relied on his receivers like he always does, and while it's good that he's giving his playmakers a chance, if you rely on your playmakers to produce anything, you're not actually the good part, right? You're not the engine, you're the carriage. Joe Burrow had about a league average 24% positive plays and a below league average 32% negative plays. Yikes. Remember that a positive play is typically going to occur on a league average 24% of plays, and a negative play is going to occur on 29% of plays. So Joe Burrow was remarkably average, and a little bit worse actually. I want to really quickly compare Joe Burrow's performance in this game to his average performance across the year. I've graded 15 Joe Burrow games now. There's only 4 I'm missing. And on the whole, he was pretty average, and this game was pretty average for him. He's typically accurate on 72.2% of his passes, damn near the league average. And on this game, he was accurate on 71%. Typically, he produces a positive play on about 20% of plays, and in this game, it was 24%, so that's actually a little better than usual. His negative play rate's usually a little lower at 28.5%, and today it was 32%, which is a significant but not terrible difference. And he was actually a little bit better at throwing downfield and completing more difficult passes in this particular game than he was across the season. Overall, he's a dude who throws a lot of simple passes and a lot of jump balls. He's not particularly accurate, but he's not inaccurate, and he puts the ball in harm's way about as much as anybody else. He still takes sacks he probably shouldn't, but his offensive line did not play particularly well at all in this game, I'll grant you that. And although the result was very different in this game from what it typically has been for the Bengals, I don't think that that's because Joe Burrow played that much differently than he typically does. His average slugging grade is a negative 2.9. And in this game, he got a -3. His average grade, just averaging out the grades I've given him all year, is about a C-, and he got a D+ in this game. His median is also a D+, and he got a D+. So this is about what he is. He even got the benefit of an incredible Chiefs turnover on that crazy Mahomes fumble, and his wide receivers bailing him out with circus catches. In the end, it just wasn't enough. The Chiefs took advantage of his poor pocket awareness, and they took advantage of him throwing interceptable balls. This one game does not have to be a requiem for Joe Burrow's entire career, and it doesn't have to be the merits by which you judge his next contract and his general value. But I would suggest that what I saw in this game is what I typically see from Joe Burrow. Let's please not turn the comments of this video into a war zone where we debate Joe Burrow's value and how good of a quarterback he is, where he ranks amongst the league's leaders. But I would suggest that if you can't find too many spots you disagree with in this video, you're probably going to have a hard time disagreeing with my general evaluation of Joe Burrow, which is much lower than, where ESPN has him. I think the talk of Joe Burrow as quarterback 1 is dead. The talk of him as quarterback 2 probably should be dead. I have him somewhere around quarterback 15. Maybe not quite. I don't believe in stack ranking that much, but I think that he's in that Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott tier. He's a fine player. He needs good players around him, and he needs good scheme. But he can produce, because he's pretty smart, even though he doesn't have much talent. My comp for him coming out of college was swaggy Kirk Cousins, and I think that this game, this season, has really proved it. As always, I look forward to hearing your complaints. I look forward to hearing your disagreements. Let's keep it about the film, though. Leave a timestamp if you want to go over a particular play, and I'll be watching film. Asta.